All right, welcome back, ladies and gents. Sean here with Blue Ridge Silverhound. We got the Pocket Change Market Report Weekend Edition. Gosh, finally, we got one off on a Saturday. I've been asked a few times, like, why do you keep uploading the PCMR on a Sunday? And I have been the last few weeks just due to like time and all that stuff. But we actually got it out Saturday, a much more meaningful time of the weekend. Especially when coin shops are still open, the banks are open. You can certainly have your way of looking for a lot of these coins going either route, and Saturday is definitely the day for that. So we're going to take a look at the last, I would say, 48 hours worth of eBay realized sales and talk about some of the more relevant coins to have sold on eBay within this time period. These are coins, again, that you could identify and find. Sell as is. You don't need to grade any of these. Keep that submission fee money in your pocket. All right. So we're going to look at these here momentarily. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to channel sponsor Whatnot. They have been instrumental in me growing my business above and beyond eBay, and allowing me to have a secondary outlet to sell some of our great premier type selections, U.S. currency, things like that. So we participate in shows every single week. We got a big summer promotional giveaway happening in June and July. If you haven't seen the video, I did post it yesterday as of this video recording. So check that out. That's the one, I believe that is time-stamped May 23. All right, so that's on a Friday. Check that one out. It'll give you kind of like the rundown of how the giveaway works. And Whatnot is a huge component to that. So we do have a show coming up on Friday. It's a big show weekend for us here in California next weekend. So there's going to be a lot of things derived from that from the next show. 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern is our Friday show. If you want to join in, sign up today using the QR code on screen. Save yourself $15 off your first item. I am giving you $15 off your first item if you sign up under me. If you don't like the QR code, we have the links down below in the description box and also pinned in the comment section of this video. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into some of these coins. We got about 25 to talk about, so let's not waste any time. So we have an 1838. This is a transitional coin. It's from the matron head design to the braided hair as we know it, going all the way up to 1857. So this one right here, 1838, I guess you could say braided hair, is what it is. As you can see, defective planchet, which probably was a delamination at some point. I mean, these are cool. They are really neat. Some people really don't know what these are. It could be really mistaken for damage. All right. And I hear that quite a bit often. So, I mean, not the greatest high-end coin, but keep in mind that, a lot of these were buried, in the dirt. Which gives it its porosity, the granular look that you see on here. So it's got that kind of like the environmental effect going on. These things were used and abused. So, even that notwithstanding, they're still highly collectible. And mint errors, they're starting to wake up here on large copper, whether that's half cents or large cents. This one, by the way, is sold by longtime eBay seller Bubba Sully's. They've been around since the dawn of man when it comes to eBay, selling for $73.75 with 16 bids. Keep this in mind. You find something like this at a coin show or a shop, and maybe that dealer, either they don't care about mint errors, or this is something maybe is a little bit Greek to them. They'll card these in a 2x2, put a price tag of $10-15 on it, and then throw it in the bargain bin. And these are realistic coins, ladies and gentlemen, that you could cherry pick at the shows. And, a practice size certainly would recommend to anyone that's looking to kind of take advantage of the market that we have here. All right, pretty cool find right there. Next one that we have here is a 2021 D Lincoln Shield cent. Now, judging from the weakness of the strike here, something that's definitely going on. And, considering that, in today's day and age, you would think that quality control would be a lot better. There's no escaping the fact that, we are living in a world where there's still a lot of like human intervention to a lot of the production that we see, even in our money system. So something like this is really quite innocent. As a matter of fact, there was actually some grease applied to the working parts of the mid presses. They tend to get on the dies. So when it strikes through that grease, you get a tremendous amount of weakness onto the host coin. And usually this will last, through the duration of maybe a few hundred strikes until that grease dissipates or flattens out. So with this find comes a little bit of a nice little treasure that you could sell. This one ended up selling for $15.50 with 13 bids. Considering the face value to what it sold for, that's a pretty good return. Again, these are out there pretty regularly. I found my fair share of them. I have a problem in that I don't want to sell these, but when that time comes, I know that they will have some liquidity. I won't have any issues selling them. And as you can tell, this one was bid up organically to that amount of money. There wasn't a buy it now listing shenanigans or anything like that. Next one that we have here is 1982p Washington Quarter. This one is really quite simple. It's a slightly off-center coin. The seller mentions that also it's a tilted collar. Which you might be able to see on the reverse, right where it's off-center, you can see kind of like a stepped feature to the edge of the coin. So the collar, which keeps the coin in place during the strike, was tilted. So it'll actually dig into the edge of the coin during the strike, creating that step. So this one here, selling for $35. And realistically, this is a coin that today you could find in a roll of quarters. So if you're an avid roll hunter, this is something that you could still find out there. It's not too far distorted or out of round or out of shape to where it's not going to fit into a bankroll. So again, I found something like this. And keep in mind that I've been in the hobby for almost 30 years now. So I have found stuff like this. I've worked at a casino where I handled a lot of change and stuff like that. So I've had some pretty good luck finding things like this, but it's all about the hunt. You got to put the work and effort into it to have some sort of return come from it. One of the coolest, neatest pieces, actually it's a very nice 1916 Buffalo nickel. This one actually is a two, they call it a 2 feather. It's more a 2.5 feather. Is what this one is. It's still attributable as a cherry picker's guide variety. So right where you see my mouse pointer, this is actually a weakened feather right here, and that's all due in part to over abrasion of the die, or just over polishing is just another easier, simpler term to call that. So you'll notice some of the streaks that go across the coin. That's simply just a little bit of an improper alloy mix, with that nickel. They added maybe a little bit of copper in there as a binding agent. And it just didn't quite mix that well. Same with Lincoln Cents. We actually have a couple of Woodies to talk about on the show, where they added a little bit of tin or zinc to the copper. It just doesn't mix very well. So this coin here is specifically here because of the 2 feather variety. You can find this across a number of dates. The higher the grade, the more valuable they are. This one, for example, sold for $69.77. So that's a pretty good cherry pick there for a coin that, probably you could find in, dealer stock for right around $20. It's a pretty nice upper level XF low AU example. So yeah, that seems to be the most important grade when it comes to 2 feathers. The lower grade ones, like good VG to find, they're quite plentiful in certain dates, and they don't command nearly as much. But these are very well collected. And there you go. Case in point, there's one of our Woodies right there, 1941 Lincoln Wheat Cent, showing just the wood graining pattern, the striations, actually on both sides of this coin is actually quite attractive. So like I had mentioned, they added a little bit of tin or zinc as a binding agent during the mix of the copper, and again, it just didn't mix very well. It's like oil and water in certain occasions. So when that's the case, you're going to get something that looks like this. The wood graining is also called an improper alloy mix by its true terminology. This one right here is sold for $10.95. The market on these starting to heat up because 5 years ago you could sell these for $1, and now people are looking for something else to collect into that really features value and artistic quality. It's almost like recollecting toned coins. It wasn't nearly as popular until about the late 90s, and then people began to take notice of those. So here's a 1920. Also equally attractive. The only difference is it's a little bit tougher date. There are going to be dates of wood graining that are going to be a little bit tougher and a little bit more pursued. And because of that, people are going to open up their wallets. They're going to pay more for these. This one, for example, sold for nearly 2 times as much as the previous coin at $19.95. So, older coin, similar wood graining, similar grade, those are all drivers for what is ultimately the market for these. Next one that we have here, 1999p, Jefferson nickel, slightly off center there by about 10%. Really quite minor, but I want to highlight this one because it's a beautiful BU coin with nice full steps on the reverse, selling for $38.51. All right, so that's generally on the high-end side because 99 is one of those more common dates to find either broad strikes or off-center struck coins. So again, these are all out-of-collar strikes. Pretty neat one here. I can honestly say I don't think we've ever highlighted a shield nickel with rays variant ever. So this is kind of cool. Now, they only did it for a couple of years, 1866 and 67. This particular one featuring lots of die cracks all over the place on the obverse, on the reverse. The reverse is especially crazy. Wear and tear on the dies will create those fractures, and they will translate into really neat looking die cracks all across the coin. Now, way back in the day, the mid-19th century, this was normal to them, okay? They generally would ride the dies till they died. I hate to sound all all matter-of-fact-ish there, but yeah, they rode these things to death. And because of that, you do find a lot of like cut die breaks, die cracks, die breaks, die chipping, and various other things like that too. Very attractive coin. I especially love these with the rays. I used to collect these years ago, even though it's only a couple dates. I would always buy one and about uncirculated and then upgrade it to a mid-state. And then they, come to find out, they go up in price quite a bit because they're a very limited 2-year type. So this one here is selling for $305. And again, with all the things I had told you, stands to reason as why that price tag is so high. The exclusivity of the with rays design on the reverse, and all the die cracks really make it an attractive and very investable piece. On the flip side of things, we have this 1911 Liberty V nickel. Man, this thing's been around a few blocks during its time. This was a true roaring 20s beat 'em up. This thing had bought many bowls of soup back in the day, I would imagine. And this one has, again, very similar to the large set that we looked at the beginning of the show. This one featuring what is to be like a delamination. The most generic of terms to kind of describe this would be a defective planchet, is what it is. And it is. That's the case. This one's selling for just a $10 bill. Considering that this one could probably be cherry-picked for $1 to turn into $10, not the worst thing that you could do. And, it's more money that you started out with. We got a little beat 'em up 1988 $1 series, $1 Federal Reserve note. This one, has seen the light of day of many wallets and purses and cash registers and anything like that. I mean, it's no big secret. Most people would not want to hold on to things like this. But as crazy and surprising as it is, the fact that this thing had circulated so much, when you look at the back of the note, I mean, obviously there's something going wrong here, right? So we have a very gross, negligent, misaligned print on the reverse. As you can see, there's no registration to the front print at all. Yeah, it's just like night and day. So this thing had been through many hands, and nobody really paid any attention to it, until one person who was maybe just a little bit curious decided to pull it aside, and glad they did. This thing would have been lost forever. $58.98 was the sale price, with 24 total bids put up as a regular bidding type of auction, and ended up with quite a nice little payday for that person that maybe was just a little bit too curious, and that's a good thing. Curious can help pay the bills, and this one is one of those testaments. I've had people ask me, why do you cover so many off-center struck coins? It's not like we find these in rolls. And I'm like, yes, I get it. However, we talk about these because they are mint errors. That's kind of what the Pocket Change Market Report is predicated on, is die varieties, mint errors, to help illustrate this kind of like this market that not a lot of people know about. You would take this coin, maybe drop it off at your local coin shop, and they'll tell you, we're just not interested. You probably have heard that before, some of you. But, there's a whole new world out there where there's this marketplace called eBay. There are tens of thousands of various mint errors, and then there are tens of thousands of various error collectors. Error collectors generally do not flock to the nearest LCS to buy these. They go to eBay, they go to Facebook, they go to CoinBook USA to find coins like this, and that's where they belong. Generally, these would be coins that, again, me personally, I would headhunt out at coin shows, and dealers would ask way too much or way too little money for these things, and that opens the door to something that you could flip pretty easily. The attractive part about this, it's off-center by a lot, like 90%. You still have a full readable date on there for as off-center as it is, and that's really cool, when you see that. So with that, this one sold for $59.99, but can you imagine finding this for like $5-10 in a scrap bin at your local coin shop? I have found a lot of these, and believe me, they have paid many light bills, they have paid many internet bills, and I will continue to do them till my end. Let's put it that way. Next one that we have here, we don't think to look at Susan B. Anthony's. They're just kind of like the junket of the U.S. coin world, but yeah, I thought this one was pretty interesting. 1979p Susan B. first year of this type, which looks oddly like a standard U.S. quarter in size and shape. Again, this is where curiosity really, really would pan out here. This little bit of weakness here on the reverse, right on one of the stars and obscuring the A in America. It was actually, at one point like a patch of grease that was on the die, along with maybe some metal shavings and some dirt, dust, things like that, all mixed together, and it hardens up really tight. And then when you strike through it, obviously you're going to have loss of devices on there. So this one here, $19.95. How about 20x your face value? Take it all day long, right? We found these before. I found a few. And you want to make sure that they look a certain way. 1984D Lincoln Memorial Cent. Just with a little bit of missing copper plating on there. All right. And the zinc core on these things are so delicate. You introduce a little bit of moisture and then those things begin to fall apart. Which is why when you look at these and you're trying to determine if you have a legit real example, we're not looking at that coin yet. And that one we just looked at. Sorry about that. So this particular one, you'll notice that it doesn't have much in the way of like corrosion or plate blistering. Usually with plate blistering, that affects the copper layer on there, and this one does not have that. So yeah, I mean, this one passes the sniffer test, and you want to make sure that the area that is missing the plating does not feel rough or look rough, or the thing looks corroded. Okay, that's going to be a huge red flag there. This one's selling for $15. Okay, I never knew these things to be like extraordinarily powerfully valuable, unless 100% of the plating is completely gone, which those exist. You know, those typically go for like $20 to $40 depending on grade. Now we're back to this one, 2021 Tuskegee Airmen quarter, the infamous burning building strike through that we all loved 4 years ago. Makes a comeback. We've seen a few of these sell here recently, while not $200, $300, $400 like they once did back in 2021. I want to let you know that you could still buy lunch for you and your wife with this quarter. You could still fill up some gas in the old Honda Accord if you wanted to. There is still some value here with this quarter. And when we look up close, and this is not the best close-up that's provided by the seller, that strike through right on the Tuskegee Airmen headquarters is a strike through of grease and debris and things like that. We all know this. We collected and hunted for these. $64.51 was that sale price, and it's good for lunch or gas, whatever you want to do, but not both. Not yet. We haven't seen these come back from that in a while. This one, however, compared to the previous coin, has really not depreciated at all since its discovery. The 2021, in any variation of the K3 to K7 die crack or die break or retain cud, however you want to call it, they have all just really been strong performers. Usually the one that you see here, which is kind of like the earlier progression state of this event, is just a crack. And sometimes it's not completely complete. You do have a little bit of displacement in there. You know, this is the one that a lot of people kind of like wrote off a few years ago as a coin that should not even be worth $20 anymore. But when you have one that's in pretty decent shape, more than surprising, these things have held on strong to the same amount of money that they've always sold for since the day it was discovered. This one right here, for example, sold for $128.35 with 5 bids. These were originally dropped in the Tidewater, Virginia region of that area. To this day, people are still finding these in there. People are finding them all up and down the eastern U.S. As of this taping. I mean, we're talking a 4-year-old coin that has maybe depreciated 5-10%, if that. The bigger cud die break probably has depreciated the most at around 20%. You know, they used to be like $200, $250. Now they're like $175 to $200. So yeah, still very valuable, and these things have not fallen off the wagon that much. You know, they are consistent, and that's what we want. Find these today and cash in. 1937 Lincoln Wheat Cent. We just have some good old-fashioned lamination on this one. You know, laminations are starting to get a little bit extra recognition in the collectibles market today. This one, for example, selling for $16.75. Oh my goodness, what a wonderful day and age that we live in where you could sell lamination for that kind of money. I have about 1,000 of these carded in a double row box, and I'm just like itching to post them. I don't know, we'll see, but that's very encouraging news. There is a readable date on here. It's a 1992, I believe, Lincoln Memorial Cent that was struck through a very late stage capped die. Capped die being another coin that was actually stuck to that obverse die. It was never ejected at all. And when that coin is stuck there, it will continue to strike other coins. It's not going to sound alarm bells or anything like that. The mint press won't, to let a employee know, like, hey, there's something going on here. We actually have a coin stuck to the die. It's just going to continue to do its thing. All right. So after a few strikes, the cap will flatten out to the point where it's going to look like this. These are very valuable. They're very consistent in what they sell for. This one, for example, ended up going for $44.51 with 13 bids. They tend to fall in that $35 to $50 range on average. So when you do find one, you know you're in the money, and that's a good thing when we're trying to sell and make a business on the gold eBay. 1983p, again, another pesky off-center quarter. Another pesky off-center coin, for that matter. I know I may hear it in chat, but this particular seller had like 6 or 7 of these, all the same date that they had sold. Not the same like off-center type. Some are a little bit, less off-center, more off-center, to the left, to the right. This one is off-center by about 50%. Very attractive, full readable date. And this one sold for $59. And guess what? The other 7 of them sold for that same exact amount of money. Someone raked it in here today. 1981 Lincoln Memorial Cent with a cut die break right on top of Lincoln's head there, covering a few letters of the motto, "In God We Trust." Cuds, like, those cap dies, very, very consistent. $44.77 was the final tally on that sale with 3 bids. So, well done there. Another nice one. Boy, oh boy, I haven't seen one this crazy in a while. 1971D. For those of you that highly neglect, some of these like closet kind of like crazy coins, I know we're all like just chomping at the bit to find silver, right? That's why we roll hunt half dollars is for that pursuit. I'm telling you, there were some sneaky, surprising other coins, not silver, that could make your day. All right, this is one of them. What in reality is happening here with this particular coin? It was struck with some severely deteriorated dies. Like, this set of dies was not long for the world. I mean, they rode this set of dies to death, both on the obverse. The obverse is very, very noticeable. The reverse, same thing too. Yeah, so, when the dies are like heavily deteriorated and it's constantly squeezing with that same amount of pressure from the first strike to the 100,000 strike, yeah, that bad boy begins to deteriorate and you get something that looks like this, which is wild. It looks more like, the Kennedy side of the coin was crafted out of pudding. That's what it looks like. So this one here is sold for $43. Okay, if we did our basic math, that's nearly 90% silver half dollars. I mean, wow. I mean, who would have thought, right? Oh man, this thing's cool. I mean, I'm glad to see one of these again. We haven't seen one in quite a while. 1960D. This is our infamous dual variety cherry picker's guide variety, which is both a double to die and also a repunch mint mark. Yes, this is the FS 501 for the RPM, and it's also the FS 101 small over large date. All right, so when we look up close here, it tells everything you need to know. Now, the extra D, the repunch D, is right here. It actually touches the part of the 9 on that bottom tail. The picture's a little bit light to not really identify the RPM, but yeah, I mean, this one I've owned a few of. Since it's a big cherry picker's guide variety, the ones that grade out like 64 and higher have just been doing nothing but climbing up Mount Everest price-wise. They're not getting any cheaper, and I knew this one was going to break out more so than some of the other coins I've talked about. This one right here ended up selling. Now, this is a raw example. It's kind of hard to say with the pictures how great this one looks. $79.95. I mean, personally, I would take a flyer on that at that money, considering that these things, they're getting much more attention these days. 1858 Flying Eagle. I'm going to say this is just a good-looking type coin. High-end XF, like a 45, AU 50-ish kind of level on this one. The obverse looks better than the reverse. This one, if you look on the reverse as well, has a bunch of little rim cuts that go around the perimeter from right around like the 8 o'clock level on the back of the coin, going all the way to midnight at 12 o'clock there. So pretty cool coin, great for a type collection. These things are not cheap at all, in most grades above XF. This one here is selling for $233.58. This one looks like the large letters type as well. There's a small and a large letters for the United States of America. Great looking coin. I love these. Wow, another Susan B. Anthony. And this one was struck with deteriorated dies. So the dies were kind of like on their last legs here with this. It's a 79D. But also, you see that circled area there on the very left of the screen? That is actually a cud. So, yeah, I mean, that helps support the fact that these dies were all busted up and ready to be chucked out on their you-know-whats. This one right here is selling for $17.56 with a couple of bids. While not like a really dramatic amount of money, this is considered a rim cud and not a full-blown cud where it goes into the design, and that's probably what suppressed the value a little bit on this. And the final item, okay, comes with a little word of caution, okay? When you're buying miscuts like this, I have very little suspicion to believe that this one is fake, all right? And I'll tell you why here in a second. But when we look at things like this, you got to keep in mind that the U.S. Mint / the Money Store, or BEP, Bureau of Engraving and Printing, they sell full sheets of not only non-star notes, but also star notes. Here's the caveat. They haven't sold a star note sheet since way back in like 2005, 2006. And those were 2004 A series notes. So they sold them on 1s, 2s, 5s, 10s, 20s, and I believe 50s, and maybe 100s. I'm not sure. I've owned almost all of them, except 100. I've never owned a $100 4-up sheet star note. But this is a 2017A. They haven't produced any star note sheets in a long time. We're talking nearly 20 years. So that's why I believe that this one is legit. It's a star note. It's miscut. We don't know what star notes mean, right? The star notes were produced to replace notes that didn't pass through the quality control process. Misprints, damaged, a sheet gets caught up somewhere and it totally tears it up, things like that. So the star notes replace that. This is like the ultimate, the ultimate irony note is what this one. There's a lot of irony here because we have a star note on an error. All right. So yeah, I mean, this is a really cool grab. I'm kind of feeling like this one undersold a little bit at $254.33. Now, you guys know my stance on grading, right? Grading, what it means to grade today is simply just to authenticate an item, okay? The grading aspect and assigning a number is a secondary or maybe tertiary thing to the note or to the coin. This would be one of those things I probably would grade, and the biggest reason to that is I want to know if this is real. I want to know that this was actually miscut as it is, or was it cut off of a sheet intentionally that was made for, kind of like a gift or a novelty. And you have to go on eBay, you have to go on the secondary market and make sure that they did not sell 2017A sheets. I couldn't find one. So I did do my homework and my due diligence to kind of make sure that, this one didn't have like a ton of sheets out there on the secondary market. They just don't exist. And that's why I've come to the conclusion that this is the real deal. The note is in great shape. So it was probably found very early on, coming out of a BEP pack of 20s. It's an eyesore. It's something that sticks out like a sore thumb. So yeah, I feel like this one should be, if it's in a graded holder, there's no reason why it can't be $400 or $500 because it's like a very later date note. It's a star note. It's an error. BEP is not producing star notes anymore because of the new the new presses that they had invested in 2 years ago. So very interesting one here. And that's kind of like how we're going to end it off on. Again, information in this video is for educational use only, not financial advice. Please collect and grade your coins responsibly. Thank you guys again. Great Saturday edition of the PCMR. I'm your host, Sean, with Blue Ridge Silverhound. Would love a like, share, or subscribe. If you could hook your brother up with that, that'd be awesome. I don't ask for much, right? Maybe a few, ad watches that you could skip. It is what it is. I'm trying to do the thing. That's it. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Take care. Best of luck in your hunts today if that's what you're going to do. And have a great Memorial Day weekend, by the way. I will see you guys later. Take care.